Hello and welcome to the first ever video for this channel. Today I thought it'd be fun to rank all the looks of Boba Fett throughout the years, say what I like, what I don't like, what works, what doesn't work, and just basically go from there. Boba Fett is one of the most recognizable characters in Star Wars history. He is the unaltered clone and son of the infamous bounty hunter Jango Fett. Boba was trained by his father at a very young age and taught how to fight, how to defend himself, and would eventually surpass his father and become known as the best bounty hunter in the galaxy. That is until he was obviously drunk as hell and decided it was a good idea to charge at a Jedi to close range, melee range, just like how his father died, and get knocked into the Sarlacc pit by a blind Han Solo and die. But as we all know,
You killed?
Sadly, yes. But I lived.
a lot of people do wonder what he was actually doing in the Sarlacc pit all that time. I actually have exclusive footage of what he was doing. And yes, before anyone asks, that is actually Tamara Morrison singing, yes. Yes, Boba Fett crawled his way out of the pit of Carkoon and eventually became the crime lord of Tatooine. A crime lord that doesn't really do any crime, but hey, like, whatever. So as you can tell, he's got quite a bit of history. And as a total non-expert in character history, I'll do my best to break down each of his looks, show what I like, what I don't like, all that jazz. And no, I'm not counting looks where his pauldron's on one side in one scene and then flips to the other, or he's wearing that helmet with this markings, or he's wearing that helmet with this armor, or his knee pads are the wrong way. I don't care. I don't care. Alrighty. So, kicking off our list is Boba's look from 2021, what I'm going to call the burnt flight suit. This is the outfit he wears during a lot of the flashbacks in like episodes 1, 2, 3, I think. I don't know, it's been a while since I saw Book of Boba Fett. After escaping the Sarlacc, he kind of like passes out, I guess. Fair enough, he was getting like digested for God knows how long. And as he's unconscious, he gets jumped by some Jawas who strip him of his armor and weapons, and leaving him to like basically rot by the Sarlacc. Until Tuskens find him and decide, let's enslave this guy. Yeah. Now, I wanna preface this before I go any further. I was super excited for this show. I loved his first appearance in The Mandalorian. Like, ask anyone in my family. That first episode as soon as you see Cobb Vanth in his armor, I was like, oh my boy's coming back. He's back. He's back. All this excitement, and then first thing I'm greeted to is this.
Like a panther. Yes?
Now, just to be clear, I still do find that absolutely hilarious. However, there's a lot of problems with the Book of Boba Fett. That's a whole nother video. As for the outfit itself, it's basically Spawn before he gets the suit. And look, we all like the makeup. The makeup looks cool, but like Spawn and Boba Fett are like one and the same, basically. Like their characters are their suits. That's one of the most integral parts to their characters. You can't have a Spawn movie and not have the Spawn suit. You don't want him running around looking like in that homeless attire he had the whole movie. The same with Boba Fett. Like you don't want to see him running around without his suit on, or God forbid he takes his helmet off. I'll give the suit credit for the acid burns. It's a nice bit of symbolism for his old life, literally being like eaten away. But that's pretty much the only thing I like. The rest of the look, he looks like a clown. I think a good way to save this look is if he still had a bit more remnants of his old gear. And I know they used the vest for Cobb Vanth and all that, but if they kind of kept part of the vest, maybe, I feel like that could have fixed it, like half dissolved. I despise this look, and honestly, I know for a fact Robert Rodriguez can do better. Yeah, that sums up my whole feelings about this show. Robert Rodriguez can do better. Coming in at number 13, we have his look from Attack of the Clones. And because I am also a generous god, I will be adding his look from the Clone Wars, specifically the episode Death Trap. I mean, look, it's fine, but like, what else does it really have going for it? It's just Kid Boba, And like, Same kind of deal if I were to make like a Vader and Anakin tier list, you know, like of course Kid Anakin's going at the bottom, you know. Now I don't want to sound like overly negative, so there are some good things about it, like specifically the Clone Wars. I like they uses his outfits strategically, you know, like blending in with the other clone cadets to pull off his plan. That's clever. It fits his character. I've also got to give massive respect to Daniel Logan, who played Kid Boba in both the movie and in the show Clone Wars. Uh, I like that he comes back to voice him anytime he can, you know? And he still shows up for fan events, conventions. The dude cares, and that's awesome, you know? Honestly, like, even to continue to that with that point, I think the Book of Boba Fett could have seriously benefited from having Daniel Logan reprise young Boba in maybe some more non-Tusken related flashbacks, or maybe like some goddamn setup for Cad Bane instead of just plopping him in the middle of Tatooine. Like maybe some like adaptations of like comics or something, like showing young Boba trained with Tamara Morrison playing Django instead of just like one scene of like seeing him fly away while he's on Camino. You know, like they only did like two flashbacks of Kid Boba when there was so much more ground you could cover. And that's how you could bring in Cad Bane, right, by setting him up as like how he was supposed to be in the Clone Wars, which was repaying a debt to Django by training his son Boba. And so you build a relationship over the course of the show. Sure, it would like spoil that Cad Bane's in the show, but like, would you rather have a surprise Cad Bane and then he dies, or build up Cad Bane as to why he's in the show? You know, probably gonna get some haters on this one, but like, whatevs. Um, Number 12, we have the Daimyo look from the Book of Boba Fett. You can call me crazy, you can call me a hater, whatever, but I I loathe this look. It angers me. I'm probably being a little bit harsh on the outfit. Like I'm sure it'll grow on me over the next like 20 years or so, but it's just like compared to how we last saw him in The Mandalorian with the what's called the re-armored look, it doesn't compare. It's wrong. It's no. See, my main problem started when they first dropped the first poster of the Book of Boba Fett, and immediately after seeing it, I had concerns. Just my main problem is the helmet shape. It looks so weirdly squashed and stretched. And yeah, I get it. Maybe it was done for Tamara Morrison's comfort. Since the re-armored version, I get it looks a little bit small at times, but you can really see how like wrong the helmet looks when Din Djarin shows up. Like the contrast between their helmet designs, it just jars me.
Look how they massacred my boy.
And look, you know, you may say, oh, like, dude, you're crazy. What are you on about, you know? But then, you know, they show Django's helmet in like what the first like 10 seconds of the show or whatever, and that's looks like it's got the original design, like the re-armored helmet look. And even the scene where he's walking down the street with all the credits in his helmet, that's the helmet just repainted to look like Book of Boba Fett. And look, if you're still calling me crazy, like, oh, that's just a helmet, you know, you can't tell it. Well, if you look super closely right there, it has the little black stripe on the back of it. That was only there for the Mandalorian season 2, and wasn't in Book of Boba Fett. The fact that that little line there is there, that's from Mandalorian. So they had the helmet. They just wanted to use the one that I personally just do not care for. I'm just not also a fan of the boot gaiters or the boot covers. I just I don't know, it doesn't work for me. I feel like they look better when they're like fully like weathered black leather like they were in Mandalorian season 2. Like I get they were trying to go for like the cowboy vibe or to match with the gauntlets, but they just don't look good. And like Robert Rodriguez even said himself, you know, if the Mandalorian's a gunslinger, like a Western gunslinger, then Boba Fett has to be a barbarian. You know, if there's one thing I can't stand,
If there's one thing I can't stand is a smart ass college kid.
it's the fact that Robert Rodriguez had so much like vision for Boba Fett's return. Like you see all the behind the scenes. There's him making his like planning it out with action figures with his kids and a helmet that his son has. It screams fan, nerd but fan. I'm also having trouble liking the green color. Like the armor itself, I think is a big problem for me. It just looks too shiny, too plasticky. Like I get it was probably like changed. They changed the green up just to like help it like blend and like contrast well against like Tatooine's backgrounds and whatnot. But I don't think it looks good. Like the original one, the um, re-armored look. I know I keep coming back to that. I'm sorry, but it just had such a good like depth to it, like a rough kind of texture under the paint, showing that the acid marks are still there, the damage is still there. It's just a new coat of paint. And I don't like the scar over the eye. It just feels like oh, he's so badass. He has a scar over his helmet eye. Like George can do that with Anakin, but like it doesn't make sense. Now, I would like to end on a good note for the Daimyo look. I love that Tamara Morrison is back playing him. You can tell he's always extremely invested in the character. I mean, just watch any interview with him. He's always 125% locked in. I mean, sure, he might come off like the drunk uncle of Star Wars at times, but you can tell he's passionate, and you can tell he cares, and that's what you want in someone playing a character. Alright, things are getting a little wacky now. A little tomfoolery, one might say, a little spicy. It's the droids slash holiday special look. Now, like I said, just because there's minimal differences between the holiday special look and the droids look. So I'm just gonna lump them together. And that being said, I've got to put some respect on this one. The holiday special marked the first ever appearance of everyone's favorite helmet-dented bounty hunter. If it weren't for this torture snuff film, we wouldn't even have Boba Fett. So putting the agony of the holiday special aside, back to the depths of hell where it belongs. Let's talk about the look. Look, it's cool. I'm sure back in the day this was like the coolest shit you'd ever seen on screen. Some mysterious dude wearing like a full like spacesuit rolls in riding a dinosaur, holding this weird cattle prod looking gun, which Pedro Pascal would later steal, offers to help the heroes and then BAM! Turns out he's working for Darth Vader. Absolute madness. Psychotic, crazy, off the rails. Whilst we're also on the subject of the holiday special, can we talk about what the actual hell is going on with Han Solo's face in this thing? Look at him. Like, what happened? What got lost in translation? Some things I really like about this look is this is where we first see the Wookiee braids. And honestly, I miss that part of Boba's character. He used to be this ruthless bastard that showed off his like trophies and his victories. I wish they kept that edge he had in like later versions of like Book of Boba Fett, especially during Mandalorian. They did pretty good in Mandalorian with his like savagery, but I just wish they showed like the Wookiee braids again. But like that's like nitpicking if I was like really to go in on it. The voice is also awesome, done by Don Franks. I think he does a great job of being that gruff, no nonsense kind of attitude, whilst also pretending to be an ally to the rebels, like the way he always has to end a sentence with "friend." You can tell it's probably physically hurting this man to call them that. Up next is Boba's look in the Clone Wars with the poncho. Honestly, I really like this look. Sure, it's a little low on the list, but it still gives Boba Fett vibes. We get the poncho, which immediately gives off that Western vibe. It's very Clint Eastwood's Man with No Name. And you can tell the Clone Wars really leaned into that inspiration hard. And let's be real, Boba rocking the lone gunslinger kind of energy. That's Boba. What I especially like is how the poncho feels like a subtle, like, precursor to the cape he wears in Empire Strikes Back. It's either the exact same one or made by the same tailor, just dyed a different color. I don't know. Maybe Boba's got a secret hobby in textile dyeing. I don't know. You never know. My man's got more layers than my attempts at Photoshop. Underneath the poncho, we get the grey flight suit, which is a nice nod to his future armor design. Oh god, no, not that one! Oh, thank god. That's better. If I had to nitpick something that annoyed me, it's not necessarily the look, it's the storyline. I don't like that they could blow up Jango's helmet and it's just split in half like that. Like, I feel like it could have been integrated onto Boba. Like, I get that he probably has like 50 different versions of the same helmet. Like, that's always been my takeaway, is that Jango has like a full, like, armory full of the same outfit. And, like, I get maybe the helmet might have looked a bit ridiculous on Boba as a kid. Like, it would look like a full on, like, Funko Pop or something. But, I don't know, I feel like it could have been used a bit more better and not blown up like that. It was just a little silly in my opinion, but otherwise, strong vibes, solid outfit, and definitely a real love letter to where Boba comes from. Next up is his look in Clone Wars, again, of him in his grey and like red, I suppose, bounty hunter look. Not much to complain about here, honestly, but if I had one gripe, it's the helmet. Now, don't go calling me the new Star Wars theory. You know, I can't enjoy anything. I swear I like Star Wars. I just wish it was different. I feel like this would have been like the perfect time to use the Ralph McQuarrie prototype helmet. You know, I don't know why they used it for Obi-Wan when he goes undercover as that bounty hunter. Like, it was a cool episode. I think it would have been really well used on Boba himself, and like a good callback to the old concept art of him. I don't know why they didn't use it, but like all things considered, this looks really cool. You know, and last time we saw Boba, he was like starting to soften up a bit. He didn't want to kill in cold blood. Looked like maybe he was rethinking things, but here, right back to being that cold, entitled little shit you'd expect the son of like the best bounty hunter to be. I really like the buzz cut as well. You know, I like that it reinforces that he's becoming more militaristic and like stepping into the role of a bounty hunter and like a leader, especially. And he's not just tagging alone anymore. And just the fact that it's basically just a more armored up, deadlier version of him with his poncho outfit, it's still, I feel it's very Boba, very ready for business kind of vibe. If I'm being a little bit more greedy, I do kind of wish the armor had been like green, maybe something to tie more visually to his classic look. But you know, us Boba fans, we take what we can get, and God does this man get shafted at the end of the episode. Next up, we have the prototype white outfit and the arena outfit. Now, I've chosen to pop these together because I like to think of them as like two sides of the same coin. You know, the one's both fully white, the other's both fully black. And look, you know, it looks awesome. And you know, as I've stated, I'm a generous and giving god. Now, the original design for Boba Fett, the prototype white look, was actually supposed to be for a special like Commander Stormtrooper back in Empire Strikes Back. And if you look at the concept arts, they used a lot of like samurai helmets as like inspiration. The idea basically evolved into what we now know as Boba Fett. And the cool thing is, in Rebels, they actually reused the concept and the idea of that look to influence the Imperial Mandalorians. Now, for the actual prototype look itself, I don't know what it is, but I love it. It's just such a stark contrast to pretty much everything else, including the other stormtroopers. I think the part that I like the most is that it's white, like it's just full white, and especially in like a lot of like movies and whatnot, they always try to push the good guy as like wearing white, you know, like yeah, the old cowboy movies where the good cowboy wears a white hat and the bad cowboy wears a black hat. You know, I love when they mix it up, like Luke in Return of the Jedi wearing all black, and in this, you know, Stormtroopers all white, and this Boba all white. You know, I still think the craziest part is that it's just a concept design, later turned into a test suit. but it became so beloved by fans that, they're still making Funko Pops, they're still making toys, they're still making helmets, all sorts of merch with this design, even today. It's become like this full cult favorite among collectors and fans, and it's awesome. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know much about the arena suit. I've looked it up, and I've seen that's like nano spray or something like that. I like it. I like the fact that he calls himself Django in the arena. That's awesome. Like to hide his identity so he's not, you know, angering other factions from what I can read here. But it looks awesome. I like that they have it. I hope it makes a return in like live action at some point because I'd love to see that up close. I was a little back and forth on this one, but I eventually decided to put this look above a lot of others on this list. Why? Because it's cool. Fight me. IRL, Macca's car park. I'll meet you there. I will deck you. I swear to God. For legal reasons, it's just a joke. The moment you first see Boba in the robes on Tatooine in The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 1, absolute fire. Straight flames. I screamed. I'm man enough to admit it. I screamed. It was awesome. I even like that they played him as the bad guy in it. Like, he straight up threatens to murder Grogu. Like, that's not a good person. That's a bad guy. And I'm gonna be honest, Fennec should have pulled the goddamn trigger. Should have saved us from Mandalorian Season 3. What I love about this look is how much mystery it brought before Book of Boba Fett came out. It was something you could theorize on for days, you know? Like, did he kill the Tuskens to take that look? Tuskens don't wear black, so why is he in that black robe? He's scarred to hell. How did he even survive the Sarlacc pit? Is he naturally just badass with every kind of weapon? Or do you train to use the gaffy stick? Do you have to master it? Is he honoring the Tuskens, or is it just gear to him? And later, of course, we find out he earned his place in the Tusken tribe. And honestly, whilst we're on that subject, how cool is this scene where he's getting dressed in the Tusken outfit for the first time?
As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I tell you.
And come on, Tamara Morrison channeling Jake the Muss's face when just straight up murdering a bunch of stormtroopers, like straight snapping necks and cashing checks. Tell me that isn't cool. Alright, a bit of a confession here. When I was younger, I hated Jango Fett. I thought he was lame. I think he completely ruined Boba's mystique from the original trilogy. I think the replaced voice by Tamara Morrison in Empire Strikes Back is shit.
No disintegrations.
As you wish.
No disintegrations.
As you wish.
And I'll be the one man enough to admit it. I didn't really like Tamara Morrison either. However, as I got older, I stopped listening to every other guy on YouTube telling me, oh, the prequels suck. And I went in with my own unbiasedness. And rewatching them, I like them. I like them a lot. Phantom Menace, I'm still a bit on. Like, I like Darth Maul and all that, but here's a hot take. I love Episode 2. It's fun and ridiculous in all the best ways. I love the diner. I love Obi-Wan and Anakin. I like Zam Wessel. I love Kamino, the arena, the fights. I love it. And in rewatching it, I realized Jango is awesome. He embodies that, like, cowboy outlaw vibe that they built Boba upon in the first place. I like the idea that Jango's death sparks this lifelong hatred of Jedi in Boba. It adds layers to his character and probably explains why he ends up working for Vader in Empire Strikes Back. Another reason I like the character of Jango more now is because now I've played Star Wars Bounty Hunter. It's a prequel to Attack of the Clones, and it shows just how Jango became the template for the clone army. It just really reinforces how good of a bounty hunter he is, and shows why he's top dog in this galaxy, you know? And of course, we gotta talk about the awesome armor. The blue flight suit, it rocks. The silver armor, awesome. The blue, like, accent details, pure flames. the most complicated assassination attempt known to man. Tomorrow was a great choice for Django. I stand by that now, and I love that I was able to look past my blind hatred and learn. I think we all should do that at some point in our lives. Plus, on a finishing note, the arm blade is cool. Now I ask you, the viewer, what's cooler than Jango Fett? That's right, Boba Fett rocking his father's outfit. And I ask you, what is not working here? Exactly, it's nothing. It's awesome and it shows! However, I did just lie to you, my audience. I know, I'm sorry. There is only one problem with this. Is that the Disney hammer came down hard on what could have been an amazing, amazing game. I mean, naturally, Dave Filoni was there to pick up the scraps and make a little show. You may have heard of it, called The Mandalorian. But still, this look was something special. I love that it's Jango's helmet, but it's chipped and worn like Boba's classic design. It's missing a lot of the usual armor as well on the outfit. So I like to think it's definitely more for lightweight, stealthy missions. Most likely the game was going to be very super parkour heavy. I love the look of the flight suit, I love the vest, I love the fingerless gloves, I love the shoulder bells. They all add to the vibe, you know? I love that it's scrappy, it's worn down. You can tell Boba's probably gone a bit reckless in his teenage, young adult years, and maybe doesn't care about upkeeping his armor or keeping it clean or painted like he should. I always felt that was the vibe they wanted to give with his armor, why it's always so distressed and all that. Not much else I can really say on this outfit other than, it's awesome. But I will never forgive Disney for taking this away from me. A classic Boba look. I mean, what can you say that's really negative about it? I wouldn't say it's a problem with the outfit, but I do wonder why they changed it up so much from Empire. That said, I do prefer the gauntlets in this version. The whole look just pops against the Tatooine backdrop. I get that maybe they were trying to replicate that same kind of visual contrast with his daimyo look from Book of Boba Fett, but yeah, no. Just no. One thing that does bug me though, it's that one shot where George Lucas randomly decided, you know what this scene needs? Let's flip the footage so everything's on the wrong side. Helmet rangefinder, wrong side. Cape, wrong side. Gauntlets, wrong side. It jars me every time I see it. On a better note, let's not forget that Boba in Return of the Jedi is a straight Chad. I mean, look at him. He's just posting up in Jabba's palace, chatting up the dancers and the singers like he owns the place. My boy's got bitches. He's straight pimpin'. Now, I understand why a lot of people choose this as their favorite Boba Fett look, and it's awesome. Don't get me wrong. This is probably the most common depiction of Boba Fett ever. However, if I may offer these three from the top turnbuckle. Surprised this is top 3? Good! I love this look. From the moment he drops in Iron Man style behind that stormtrooper, you know Boba's standing on business. No hesitation, no mercy, he just absolutely clowns on the troopers and reminds Mando and all of us why he's top dog. I remember a lot of people online throwing shade towards Tamora Morrison, calling him Boba Fett. And honestly, I just hate that they did that. I mean, look at him. The man is a tank in this scene. Yeah, he's stockier than Boba was in the original trilogy. But is that really a problem? If anything, it makes him look more powerful, more battle-hardened.
And I tried to cut back on the beers so the stomach wouldn't be out too far. Of course, some of these fans were calling me Boba Fett.
I'm glad he was able to, take it in a funny and constructive way and, better himself. And, even though I have my problems with the Book of Boba Fett and the armor he wears, he looks good in it. I mean, he did a really good job. Another thing I love is when we see Cobb Vanth using the armor. He's basically just using the rocket and, maybe the rangefinder. That's it. When Boba puts it all back on, you can tell he knows what he's doing. He's got the rocket punches, he's got the rail shots, the knee rockets. The man straight bitch-slapping stormtroopers around like they owe him credits, spinning his blaster like Django and absolutely wrecking fools. And you all want to bully my boy, Tim? Oh, he's too big. He's too big to be Boba. Shut up. How about that? And you can't talk about this awesome version of Boba without mentioning the Warhorn theme. It's one of the coolest bits of music in Star Wars, and it suits him perfectly. It's tribal, raw, dangerous, just like him. My man, what a look. Straight gangster. No, straight king. The Empire look is probably the most common top pick for people's favorite Boba Fett look, other than Return of the Jedi. And for good reason. It's iconic, it's sharp, it defines the character. And in fact, let me break it down for you real quick. This version of the armor, I think it has better, more believable battle damage than Return of the Jedi, in my opinion. Especially the helmet. It's honestly, it's art. It's the weathering, the dent, the paint wear. It all just tells a story before he even says a word. Quick little side story as well. Many years ago, I was perusing a local nerd store, and that was the first time I saw the Black Series Empire Strikes Back Boba Fett helmet they had. And instantly I was smitten. I always dreamed of owning a Boba Fett helmet. I even flirted with the idea of making one myself. Sadly, I lack the patience and don't really do well with making that kind of stuff. But I remember years ago, what probably started my journey of a Boba Fett fan was my dad's mate let me try on his Boba Fett helmet like years ago. I'm pretty sure it was like an old Ruby's version or something, and my dad never let it go because he was never allowed to try it on, but I was. But back to the outfit, like the entire look tells a story. You see him standing there, you know he's not just some fancy, over-polished stormtrooper. He's some dinged, damaged, not perfect and symmetrical like the rest of the Empire. And let's not skip on like the rest of the bounty hunter lineup. You know, you got my main man Boba, you got Bosk the Lizard Man, you got Dengar before Disney made him into a half-melted sewer rat. Lom, I think. Uh, Old Mate. And of course IG-88, the superior IG unit. Because as we all know, Dave Filoni just can't stop himself from making overpowered OCs, but okay. I love that they also gave Boba Fett spurs. I think that's just an awesome, subtle, but awesome addition to just his stride, his cadence, you know. All of his character acting just, you know, a lot of people just say, "Oh, he just stood there, did nothing." But like, dude, he's talking smack straight to Darth Vader's face. You know, he has that I don't give a damn energy, and he's just staring down Vader like it's a casual Wednesday. I am, of course, referring more to the lines when they were done by Jason Wingreen, the original Boba Fett voice actor. Just, I love the amount of spite and dry sarcasm that just drips off every line, you know? Like, there's this line here.
Put Captain Solo in the cargo hold.
I love the way he just hangs on to the captain part for just a smidge longer than usual, almost like he's mocking Han Solo, like a Captain Solo. Honestly, I almost had this one locked in at number 1, and during my final revision, I had to put this next one at the top pick. Hate me if you want, this is just my opinion. Alright, so in number 1 place we have the Vision... No, I'm joking, okay. Now, this is what I consider the best look Boba Fett has ever had. I mean, look at it, he's the GOAT, he's my main boy.
My pal, he's my homeboy, my rotten soldier, he's my sweet cheese, my good time boy.
Now, as you can probably tell, I'm pretty good at nitpicking things that I love. But this look just, it's too clean, it's too awesome. As stated earlier, I love the texture on the armor, like the matte tones, the little black line running down the back of the helmet. Like, why is it so good? It's just sleek, it's a powerful design, it still feels 100% Boba. And honestly, this, along with the post-Sarlacc look, revived my desire to cosplay. Seeing Tamara Morrison back in the suit, being a bit more bulky and stockier than your average superhero these days, gave me hope that I could cosplay Boba and pull it off at some point. I love seeing heroes that aren't all shredded Olympians or wire-thin ninjas. Same goes for female characters too. Like, I like range and believable diverse representation, and this look nails it. That's why I love characters like Boba, Bane, Red Guardian, Robert Pattinson's The Batman. They don't adhere to the average superhero bod, and I love that. Like, Bane is huge and scary, but he's not like dehydrated muscular. He's bulky. Pattinson's Batman, he's lean, same deal, but he's not shredded. Now, that's not to say that like every superhero, supervillain should be like, different, all different body shapes. Like some characters need to adhere to certain things. Like I said previously, Spawn and Boba, their things are their suits. Same with other characters, like Conan the Barbarian. He's always going to be like ripped to hell. That's his character. Same goes with like Thor, except that one time they made him tubby and he was the butt of every joke. Back to the Boba situation, of course. The post-credit scene is awesome of him killing Bib Fortuna and then like usurping the throne of Jabba. Like that's awesome. I wish like the way he kills him on that throne is like so cold-blooded and like awesome. I wish they kept that kind of like energy for Book of Boba Fett. I know I keep complaining about the show, but like whatever. And I know I've been ragging on Dave Filoni a little bit, but I do want to bring up something I love. That I don't know if it was him or the costume department, but I'll say him, but I could be wrong. Is I like the samurai and like Eastern warrior influence he brings to characters. Like with Ahsoka, with her like upper arm bands that look kind of like a katana grip, and also with the pants that Ahsoka has, like the baggy kind of samurai pants. I like that, and I think it works really good on Boba as well. Like it really leans into that barbarian aesthetic that they were clearly going for in the behind the scenes talk. Yeah, and it just reinforces this version of Boba it's a tank. He's a tactician. He's a walking legacy. Well, that's my first video. Went for a lot longer than I was expecting, so sorry about that, dudes. I hope you all liked the video though. I don't really have a upload schedule or anything like that, so if you got more subjects you'd like me to cover or something, sound off in the comments. I'd like to try and talk to you guys and I know go from there. Or any other topics you'd like to see. Until then, this is the T-Visor signing off.